All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast real estate tip. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to dominate at agent recruiting. So for all of you team leaders and broker owners out there that want to crush it on the recruiting front, you want to go out there and have tons of success at agent recruiting. And we're going to go deep into this because it's not just about agent recruiting, it's also agent retention. This comes full circle with this. So, we got to recruit at a high level, but then from there, when we recruit them in, we got to make sure that we're onboarding them correctly. Meaning agents that we bring on, we're onboarding them correctly so we can get them producing as quickly as possible. And then from there, we want to maximize and capitalize on overall agent retention so we can continue to grow and scale at a very high level, our teams or our brokerages, and be as profitable as possible, right? And these are the keys to that. So we're going to break this down and do a deep dive into this. So before we get specifically into agent recruiting, because I got a lot of different tips that I want to go through and cover here. I've actually got a couple pages of notes here to make sure that I hit on everything and don't accidentally leave anything out and kind of keep on track here. But before we get into specifically agent recruiting, there's a couple things that are really important to understand and to know before we jump into those. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is just two things that are really important to know in this market that we're in right now. And honestly, it's not just about the market that we're in right now. These are fundamentals that should have always been taking place. But what we've discovered and what we've seen here over the last 18 to 24 months is so many weren't doing these fundamentals at a high level and got caught in a very, very difficult spot. As the great Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, you see who's skinny dipping. Well, a lot of agents, team leaders, and broker owners got caught skinny dipping over the last 18 to 24 months as soon as this contraction or transaction volume contraction started happening. So with that being said, these two things always extremely important, but even that much more important in this economic winter that we are in. And things are going to get worse before they get better. Okay, so with that being said, number one, you got to be a great operator. So by a great operator, that means just treating your business as a business. I know that most of you that are watching this or listening to this, at least those of you that this topic applies, because team leaders, broker owners, understand this concept. But there's very few team leaders or brokerage owners that I meet, that I see, or that I initially start working with on a coaching and consulting level that actually are great operators. Very few, right? And look at, I'd go out there and say that maybe it's about 5% of team leaders and broker owners that are good operators. And by great operator, I mean treating your business as a business, meaning that you truly understand what the real estate game is, you know it, you've understood it, or you understand it, you master it. So then that way, because a mistake that you might make or see that's very common with team leaders and broker owners, you think that their title is different, so they don't need to necessarily keep up with understanding and mastering and knowing the real estate game. Well, okay, maybe you're not in production anymore. Like I'm not in production anymore. Like my job is a real estate company owner, is to go out there and recruit but then from there, I got to train and make sure my agents are playing the game at the highest level. So if my agents need to be playing the game at the highest level, okay, it's very imperative and very important for me to know it and understand it and have mastered it so I can get them to know it, understand it, and master it, right? So we got to know and understand and master the game at a high level, right? Then from there, step two of what I mean by a great operator, train your business as a business is you got to make sure that you've got the right, most effective, efficient strategies in place for you and for your agents based on the given markets that we are in. Strategies can shift and change based on the markets that we are in, whether it's a buyer's market, seller's market, what's going on with that time. And a lot of teams and a lot of brokers have failed to pivot and shift strategies during this contracting market that we're in right now. Okay, so then from there, you got to make sure that your process and systems are extremely dialed in. You got to make sure that your tracking systems are extremely dialed in. And then eventually you got to make sure that you know and understand how to plug in the right people at the right times, strategically when it makes sense, and have the ability to go out there and attract and identify and then train, onboard, and support that top talent inside your organization. Now, we're not just talking from the agent side. We're going to talk about agent recruiting here in a moment, but I'm talking, about on that support side, those that are supporting your agents, and that can be everything from admin, all the way through your leadership team inside your organization, right? So that's number one, being a great operator. Number two, understand that we are now in a market and a time where skill set matters as much as it's ever mattered before. And one of the reasons, and probably the biggest reason as to why agents, teams, and brokers a lot of them are getting crushed right now in this marketplace, is because they either forgot the skills or they just never acquired the skills in the first place. So if you look at from about 2012 to about 2020, early to mid 2022, it was just a great time. Meaning you could just kind of show up, kind of be consistent, kind of work hard, and you or your agents were popping deals. Things were just good, right? Skill set didn't really matter all that much during that time. Now, those with the right skill set were just murdering at a much, much higher level. But look, agents could make, six figures, decently in this business, without having the right necessarily, quote unquote, skill sets. Now we are in the most competitive real estate market to ever be seen in real estate recorded history. When we're looking at number of transactions, number of listings versus number of licensees, skill set 100% matters. So skill set, you got to make sure that you got the right skill sets dialed in. Is the leader of the organization or your leadership team, has those skill sets out in, but you got to make sure that your agents have the right skills dialed in and the right skill sets, because we got to maximize and optimize conversions. So when I talk about skill sets, I mean, in the most important skill sets to go out there and acquire and learn is when it comes to sales, right? In people, don't allow yourself to get arrogant with this. I call it the six-figure trap. One of the big differences between, six-figure earners versus 7, 8+ figure earners is that 7 and 8+ figure earners don't allow ego to block them from their lifelong students. They're just hungry for always learning, acquiring new knowledge, acquiring new skill sets. And I know all of you guys that are watching, listening to this are, hungry for this. I'm just, so this is more speaking to, somebody that doesn't have that understanding, or maybe even to make sure that your agents understand. So you articulating to your agents to understand, the importance of developing those skill sets. Because the six-figure trap is a lot of people start making 100, 200, or let's just say 500 or 600 grand a year, and they just think they're Billy Badass. They think they know everything. They think that they no longer need those skills, but then they stay in, this is why I call it the six-figure trap. They stay in that level of production year after year after year after year. And then when they hit a market like this where skill set matters, then boom, now all of a sudden their production is down because they didn't acquire the right skill sets necessary to go out there and get to that next level. When we look at this, it's either, okay, have you been trained or are you training? Right? The best of the best, understand I've always got to be training. I wasn't just trained at one point. I've always got to be training. So skill set matters. Make sure that you have these things dialed in for your agents. So you've got them dialed in for you, but then you're making sure that you are providing that support in training, whatever, for your agents to make sure they're treating their business as a business, that they're acquiring the right skill sets to go out there and they know how to sell at a high level. They're out there crushing it at a high level. Okay, so now let's jump into one other important thing before we actually get into specifically agent recruiting, because this leads to and will make a huge impact. All of these things will make a huge impact on your overall recruiting. So dial in the product that you are recruiting to. So what is your overall product as a team leader or a brokerage owner? Your product. So we're looking at this because, again, what do I mean by product? Okay, well, the agents that are joining your organization, thinking of, okay, when they join your organization, that is a product that they are choosing to do business with so if we look at this as a product, what is that product? Okay, our product as team leader and broker owners is to facilitate the best experience possible for those of our agents that choose to plug into. And I'll circle back to that because that choose to plug into is really key and imperative to understand and know here. But we are facilitating the best overall environment, the best overall experience for those that choose to plug into, that they can achieve their real estate goals in the quickest, most effective, most efficient manner and profitable manner possible. So that is our overall product. And the better your product is, the easier and the less resistance that you're going to have when it comes to recruiting to that product. If you have an amazing product, you don't have to sell it near as hard, right? But then from there, okay, you can become a recruiting fucking machine. But if agents come in and all of a sudden their experience is absolute shit and you cannot fulfill on the quote unquote promises that you made, meaning helping them accomplish their real estate goals, okay, well, they're going to be leaving as fast as they're joining. It's going to create a lot of other internal headaches. So dial in the product that you are recruiting to. And what do I mean by, so we already talked about the product, but what do I mean by dialing in? I recommend to make it your obsession. An obsession is just another word for mastery, but you're always focusing on, okay, how do we facilitate the best experience for our agents for those that choose to plug into, where they can get from where they're at to where they want to go in the quickest, fastest, most effective, efficient way possible. So why I say choose to plug into. Look, you cannot motivate agents. You cannot force agents to show up. You cannot force them. You're going to have people that just weren't meant for entrepreneurship, weren't meant for real estate, this business isn't for everybody, right? So some of those people, like, you got to, help them see, see the door, right? But for those that choose to show up, so when I look at this, my obsession in my own real estate business is, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we have the best training, that we've got the best support, that we have the best systems, that we're doing everything that we can, that if our agents that choose to plug into, they can achieve the highest level of success outside of anywhere else in our marketplace, right? And that becomes my obsession. So now I'm not trying to go out there and motivate my agents, right? Like, I'm just working on the things that I can control. So I can control the level of support that we offer. I can control the level of like making sure that my agents are trained better than any other platform that exists out there inside my market, or hopefully the best that exists out there, period. I can make sure that my agents know exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Every element of that guesswork has been 100% eliminated, and this is, why I'm saying this is a recommendation that I have for you too, of just a way to think about it. Like, I obsess over like making sure that none of my agents could ever come to me and say, hey, Josh, I didn't succeed because I didn't know what to do. I didn't succeed because I didn't have the right training, or I didn't have the right support, or I didn't have the right systems, or the right strategy. All they can truly admit to is I didn't succeed because I chose to not show up and put in the work. Right? That's the only natural conclusion that they can come up to, because I eliminate and remove all of the reasons as to why they wouldn't succeed. Now, you and I, we cannot execute for agents. Like, you can't, like, in my coaching clients, everybody else, I tell them, like, look, I can make sure you know exactly what to do, have the exact roadmap, you have the right strategy, of all the tools, resources, system, I can make sure you have all those things in place, 100%. The only thing I can't do for you, and the only thing no other human being on this planet can do for you, is execute. You got to show up and execute, right? So same thing with your agents, right? Like, thinking of it at that level. All right. So then from there, make sure that you are dialing in your onboarding. And I already said this earlier, but when we look at your overall product, okay, like, we got your onboarding. So we got, of course, agent recruiting. We got to recruit them. But then what do you recruit them into? Okay, so as soon as they sign on that dotted line, we've got our initial onboarding. Initial onboarding is extremely important, because how you bring somebody in sets the stage for the rest of their career. So dialing in that onboarding, dialing in your overall support, the systems, and what your ongoing training is, like, that is going to be, again, your overall product that you have. And that is going to help ensure that people are having success when you bring them on. Because when we do that, like, let's break down the 3 reasons as to why agents leave our organizations. So there's really 3 primary reasons. Number 1, that they're not producing. And again, there's, like, I don't care how dialed in that you have this stuff, you're still going to have a percentage of these, but we want to shrink that percentage. You're still going to have a percentage of these that don't produce, right? So, but there's just people that, again, like, dude, if they can't get their ass out of bed till 10 a.m., like, and aren't going to show up and aren't going to participate, and like, those, people that just thought this was going to be easy, those are people that I can't necessarily help. I can't help people that don't want to help themselves, right? Analogy I always use internally, I'm like, hey, man, God feeds the birds. And I don't know where I heard this from, but I love the fucking saying, is God feeds the birds, but he doesn't put food in their mouth, right? Okay, like, God, okay, gives them the ability, the skills, the tools, to go out there and hunt and go out there and get that food, but he's not just going to put it in their mouth. So I tell my agents that too. Like, look, dude, like, the opportunities are here. If I have a brand new agent that comes to me, even if they have crazy goals, I want to make 400 grand in my first year. Okay, cool. Like, here's what it's going to take to go out there and make 400 grand your first year. Like, I'll create the roadmap. Here's everything that you need to go out there and do it. Now you got to show up and do it. With that. So you're still going to have a percentage of those that aren't going to do that, and that's okay, right? What we're doing is creating the environment for those that choose to plug into. Right. Okay. So number 1, we're covering the 3 reasons as to why people leave. Number 1, they're not producing, so they're not making money. struggling financially. Number two, you do something to piss them off, or somebody in the organization does something to piss them off. And number three, they outgrow the organization. So we want to minimize these, right? And sometimes we can't, it's not going to be perfect. But again, if the industry average churn rate for a brokerage or a team is, let's just say 30%, and you can get yours down to 15%, so your retaining and your lifetime value of each agent greatly increases, okay, that's going to make a world of difference for you, right? And one of the greatest recruiting tactics out there is when your agents are kicking ass, they're getting results, right? The rest of the agent community is seeing that. They're watching that. They're seeing all of a sudden your listing signs all over the community out there. They're seeing your agents' open house signs all over the community out there. They're seeing all of your guys' social media posts, posting out all over there. Agents are watching numbers, out there. They're seeing those numbers out there. And they're seeing what your agents are doing. They're kicking ass, especially as they're struggling. Like, it creates that compounding momentum where people are like, what the fuck is going on? Right? And the more that they're producing, the more they become a raving fan, the more your agents are talking about it, then that alone starts to become a big recruiting machine pillar of your organization, right? Because you have so many producing, happy, satisfied agents that are with you for a long period of time. They become walking, talking testimonials for your organization, right? And then again, now you have, kind of that social proof, if you will, when people are like, hey, I want to create a team, Josh, and my production's at 10 million a year. I want to create a team. Okay, well, now I can go through different examples of agents inside my organization that were at their level or even below their level when they came into my real estate company, and now how I've coached them and helped them and provided the infrastructure, the systems and support to get them to now they're operating 50 agent teams and doing XYZ, right? Like, so now I have those case studies, that just makes it again that much easier to recruit too. Now, you may not have these in place yet, but over time you will, right? So I'm just saying that if we have that focus, so it's a twofold focus, right? We got to focus on the product itself and always building the product. And then we got to focus on recruiting to the product. Okay, so now let's talk about recruiting specifically. And I want to break down a bunch of different tips that I have here when it comes to overall recruiting. And just, because when it comes to recruiting is very similar. To recruiting buyers, recruiting sellers. It's very similar when it comes to recruiting agents. Because at the end of the day, you're either recruiting buyers, recruiting sellers, you're recruiting agents, or eventually recruiting your leadership team to do those things for you. But essentially, it's all the same process. So just like when you were in production, or maybe you still are in production, working with some buyers and sellers, and you're also growing your team in brokerage. But just like with your buyer and seller business, you want to treat recruiting in that same manner, meaning that, okay, you've got your consistent lead generation activities that you are going after to recruit those agents. Like, you got your CRM, so, okay, I've got all my, agent recruiting follow-up drips in Perfect Storm, and we've got to, using Perfect Storm CRM just like I would for, buyers and sellers. I'm doing that same thing. We've got all our funnels. We got everything in place for agent recruiting. We're treating the same way. So identifying, your 2, 3, 4 consistent agent recruiting strategies that you're going to consistently deploying. So an example, okay, maybe you have a cross-sale agent strategy that you're going after in deploying, so for every cross-sell agent that you guys have an experience with, okay, you're going after that. It's a very highly effective way to go out there and recruit. Maybe you're recruiting out of the new agent school or the new licensing schools in your marketplace. Maybe you're also running Indeed ads. Maybe you're putting on and hosting, local training events for agents in the community and using that to go out there and recruit, right? Like, all effective strategies to go out there and recruit with. But whatever those are, okay, just like, just like we would coach and teach our agents, okay, like, what's your consistent lead gen strategy? How many leads do you need to be generating every single, day, week, month, over the year, but then having that effective follow-up strategy, follow up to convert those into the appointment set and appointment conductions. So just like you would on the buyer sellers, have that in place on the agent recruit side. I know that sounds like such common sense, but ask yourself, are you doing it? Right? And are you doing it to hit the agent count that you need? Right, because most that I see and most that I know in this business with teams and brokerages, they just recruit when they have a need. They're very inconsistent with it. And this is, they wait till they lose some agents and then, if you want to continue to grow it, they got to be consistent with, and we got to be extremely strategic with. Okay, so that's number one. then so you've got that, and make sure that you have a recruiting business plan, just like you do an agent business plan. One of the first things I do with my coaching clients, our team leaders and broker owners, we make sure that we get their recruiting business plan in place. So we can make sure they know exactly how many agents they need to be recruiting to make their goals a reality. Then, of course, we're tracking all of this stuff on the agent recruit side, just like you would as an agent on the buyer-seller stuff. But you're tracking, how many leads per lead source, how many reach outs, how many conversations, how many agent recruit appointments set, how many agent recruit appointment conductions, so you know what your show rate is. Okay, how many agent appointment conductions to actual agents that sign with you. So I want to know, I'm tracking all of this stuff so it becomes predictable and measured. But then also I can see, where those holes are inside my bucket to know what to improve inside that funnel. Okay, so then from there, when it comes to the actual recruiting pitch, when it comes to the actual recruiting strategy, or now you're in the appointment conduction, you've set the appointment. This is also where I see a vast majority of team leaders and broker owners just shit the bed on, right? They jump into this, here's all the reasons why we are the best. Here's all our features. Here's all of our benefits. Like I'm telling you right now, nobody gives two shits about we get the best training, we get the best systems, we got the best features and benefits. When you sell off of features and benefits, it is the worst way to sell. It is where you're going to experience the most resistance. It's going to be it's the most ineffective way to go out there and sell and recruit, right? So you don't sell off of features and benefits. You recruit to the results. Right. So like in a recruiting pitch and presentation, I take an agent through, let's just say it's an hour presentation. I might spend 10 total minutes of that talking about features and benefits. Like, okay, here's everything that we have to offer. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's, all the systems, benefits. Here's the fee structure. Here's the splits. That's like 10 minutes. The other 50 minutes is going through, I'm selling the results. So how do you do that? Right. So as far as that goes, when that recruiting meeting starts, because I want to do the feature kind of benefit and split pitch at the very end. That's the product pitch is at the very end, and then we'll get into any objections. So if I were to structure this, it's like, okay, I've got the first 40 minutes, going through results, right? Then from there, 10 minutes of the pitch, the product pitch itself. And then that gives about 10 minutes to overcome any objections, and then boom, get them moving forward. And I'm telling you right now, if you are getting a lot of objections inside your pitch, right? Inside your presentation, another way of saying pitch, it's because you are not selling the results. And what I'm saying on this is selling the results that they are after, right? If you're getting people that are like, well, I'm just not sure about those fees, man, I'm just not sure about the, whatever, dude, like that is a red flag that you're not results selling, right? Like you're not going deep enough into the results. So you got to understand that all sales is, dude, it's pain and pleasure, right? They're experiencing a pain that's currently going on with their current situation. They want to get out of that situation and they want to get to that pleasure. Now, so that's going to be, okay, here's where the real estate business is at. Here's where they want to go. So we need to identify where their business is at, where they want to go, and then we need to articulate that we have the best roadmap. And we got to make sure that they feel that level of confidence and certainty that we have the best roadmap to get them from where they're at to where they want to go. Because our job is to get them from where they're at to where, this is what we talked about earlier with the product that we are selling. Our job is to get them from where they're at to where they want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. Right? And if you do this at a high level, really the freaking fees and all other shit is irrelevant. Right? So we got to sell that pain. Right? So here's where they're at, and that's the pain. Here's where they want to be. That's the pleasure. Right? Well, we got to sell that gap. They're experiencing this gap that they can't close themselves. They're not able to close with the current situation or the current brokerage or the current team that they're with, right? Well, we've got to let them know that we can close that gap, but we got to create the gap, right? To get them to, and I'll go through some examples with this. So I'm going to ask them certain questions of like, well, why'd you get, let's rewind the clocks, man. Like, why'd you get in real estate in the first place? Like, what decided you to jump into this career? Like, I want to know that, because I'll talk to a lot of agents that'll be like, well, if this doesn't work out, I guess I can go back to the corporate world. Well, I want to know why they left the corporate world, why they got into real estate, and why that they, absolutely don't want to be back in the corporate world, and they need to make this a reality. I want to know, like, hey, why'd you get in this business in the first place? Now, when you first got in the business, what was it that you wanted out of this business? Like, what would have been that dream at that time? What would have been, or if they're brand new, it's, kind of talking in that moment, but what would your dream business have looked like? Because if they've been in the business for 4 years, 5 years, and they've struggled, it's easy for them to give up on those goals because they've gotten beat down so heavily. So I want to kind of rewind the clocks and bring back that excitement, right? Then I want to know, okay, like let's just say they're, a seasoned agent that's been in the business for some time. Okay, well, and still I want to know, I'm still going to ask that question. Then I want to find out, okay, where their business currently is at. So, how many deals have you done in the past 12 months? Like, or how many deals have you done, year to date? I want to know exactly where their business is at. Then I want to know what their 12-month goals are. So now we can create that gap between where they're at versus their 12-month goals. So just saying, okay, hey, in a perfect world, if you could, and also, dealing in realities. So somewhat of also, might be stretch goals, but realistic, meaning it's possible. In the next 12 months, if it was possible, to create whatever those 12-month goals are, what would those 12-month goals be? Like if you could, what would winning look like? If you could go from here to here in the next 12 months, what would that look like for you? And then asking deeper questions, right? So if somebody's, making right now 30 grand a year and they want to be making 150 grand a year, okay, that's very doable. Right? So then from there, I'm going to ask them, okay, well, that's so great to hear, but I want to find that pain and pleasure, right? So I want to be like, okay, well, that 150 grand a year, what would that mean to you and your family, once you're making that 150 grand a year? And then tell me more about that. Yeah, right? Like I want to go, if you ask shallow questions, you're going to get shallow answers, so I want to get to that pleasure, that 12-month pleasure, and then that long-term pleasure that they want to get to, right? So then from there, I'm asking them, okay, well, what's life like right now? Obviously you're here, you want to get to here, but what are you experiencing right now? And I just pause and ask them. Yeah, right. What is if you can't figure this out, if you can't get this figured out of how to, get from making 30 grand to 150 grand, let's just say, you stay in the status quo and you can't get this figured out. What does that mean for you and your family? Well, that means I'm going to have to go get another part-time job. Okay. Is that really what you want though? And then I just pause, right? Just asking these, just asking questions because I want to, again, create that gap, create that pain and pleasure, right? So that gap between that pain and pleasure. So then I'll ask them, okay, long-term goals, and these could take, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever that timeline is. But long-term, if you could snap your fingers and have that perfect business built, what would that look like for you? And I get them thinking about it. And these are questions that you can think about for your own self here on this podcast too, right? So we kind of go through the exercises ourselves, so then I'll have them explain that to me. And again, I want to go deeper in that. Okay, well, why is that important to you? Well, man, I want to create a team where I'm eventually not, in production. I can just manage okay, that's awesome. That's amazing. And what would that mean then for you and your family? Well, man, if I could be making 500 grand a year plus have a team where I'm out of production, okay, well, financially, what would that mean for you and your family? Oh, that would mean that I'd be able to fund my kids' college and live the lifestyle that we want to live and put the savings away for retirement, but then also be able to, take the vacations that we want and okay, that's awesome, right? Like now I'm getting to kind of the root core things because, dude, the money is just a fucking piece of paper, right? Or digits on a screen now. Right? So I'm not saying that the money isn't important, but there's a deeper meaning behind that money. So then I'm asking them certain, like, okay, well, what would that mean for you? Why is having a team important to you? Well, man, I really want to be able to make the money to do those things. But when I have that team, it allows me then to allocate a little bit more time. So then I have the time to spend and invest with my family and the time to go out there and do the things that I love. Okay, cool. I get it. I understand that. And, but so we're going to have deeper conversations on those. So this is, again, what that first 40 minutes dude, it's a lot of questions. I'm just unpacking so I can, identify, get clarity on that pain and pleasure. Then from there, I articulate a roadmap, right? So how to get from where you're at from where you're at to your 12-month goal, and then from that 12-month goal to whatever that future goal is. Like I just articulate the roadmap. Here's the next steps. So here's what we're gonna. Here's the best way, the most effective, most efficient, profitable way to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. Now here's the important thing: is I'm going to show them what to do, but not how to do it. They're going to need me and or you as a team leader or the brokerage owner to know how to do it and provide them the systems and the support to do it. But I'll give them the road. Here's what to do. I just know that they're not going to be able to figure it out on their own. Like they're going to need me to know how to do it, right? So this isn't giving away everything. It's not giving away all your secrets, or whatever. Not that there really is any secrets, But again, whoever believes, like they're going to go with whatever team leader or brokerage owner that they believe has the best overall roadmap to get them from where they're at to where they want to go in the quickest, most effective, most efficient, and profitable way. So that's what I'm articulating here. Right. But when you spend that time creating that and knowing what that roadmap and gap is, and then asking those questions of like, okay, well, what happens if you continue making this 30 grand a year and you don't figure out how to get to 150 grand over the next 12 months, what does life look like? Well, I'm probably going to have to drop out or go get another job and, kind of do this part-time or possibly drop out of the industry. Okay, well, yeah, man, I understand that. And now, is that what you really want though? No, hell no, I don't want that. Like, I need to make this work, man. I really want to make this work. Okay. It sounds like you're committed to making this work. I mean, is that correct? I mean, are you committed to making this work? Yeah. I say, yeah, what? Okay, well, it sounds to me like it's time for a change. You've been at this now for 3 years. And you haven't been able to figure this out, with the current tools and the current skills and the current environment that you're at. Definition of insanity, according to Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So it sounds like you've been doing the same things over and over and over, and this is the result that it's getting you. So with that being said, I mean, it sounds to me like it's time for a change. Would you agree with that? Yeah, right. And I'm just getting them to answer the questions that I need and want them to answer, right? So, and then from there, when objections come up, I just circle back to that pain and that pleasure, and then I'll ask, hey, what do you think is more risky, to continue what you're doing right now and stay in the status quo, or to move forward and make a change? Which one do you think is more risky to your overall career? Yeah, right. So when you come to the actual recruit pitch itself becomes extremely important. All right. So the next kind of note here, which I've already said a few times, but I'll repeat it because it's so important. Whomever articulates that they are the best person or the best environment, the best facility, the best brokerage, the best team to get them from where they're at to where they want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner is the one that is going to go out there and win that recruit, right? So it becomes very imperative, very important. Okay, so then from there, now let's talk about just, and just to recap some of these questions, right? So, okay, why they got into real estate. So this is just those certain sales questions that you need to know to kind of walk people through this process. So get to know and identify. And these are also going to develop a deeper connection, get you to really understand them, where they're going. But look, at the end of the day, guys, sales is just problem solving. Right? We got to be good problem solvers. But in order to be good problem solvers, we have to be good at being able to identify the problem. In order to be able to identify the problem, we got to be good at getting people to be open and honest and upfront with us and vulnerable with us of what those true core problems are. But if you don't know the right questions to ask and the right way to ask those, like, you're not going to have success with this stuff. It becomes really important. So if we look at the information-based consumer today, and agents are included in this bucket, I'm telling you right now, and you probably already know this, but agents are freaking more sensitive than, like, when I got into agent recruiting, I was blown away because I was thinking, agent recruiting will be easier, because, they're salespeople and they're used to selling, whatever. So they're not going to have so much resistance to being sold. I found out I was the exact opposite, man. Some like the most, agents are more sensitive overall, at least in my experience, than buyers and sellers, and that's okay. Right. I don't have a beef with that. It's just okay. I just need to know that and understand that. So then from there, I go out of my way to give them what they want. And what does the consumer want? The consumer wants the information that they need and want to make their best informed decision, but they want to do that in a safe, non-pushy, non-pressured, comfortable environment. So, okay, I'm just going to give them what they want. So everything I'm talking with agents, I'm always giving, like, this is really important. When I said earlier, skill set matters. Like, if you can't get them to the table to be able to talk with them and go through your pitch, none of this stuff matters. Right. So it's, make them feel uber comfortable. Right. It's selling without selling. So we always got to, making sure they're comfortable, removing that resistance that might be experiencing. So an example, like when I'm recruiting agents, like when an agent calls me up and is like, hey, why should I join you? Well, hey, to be honest with you, I'm not, at this point, I'm not quite sure that you should yet. I'd have to learn more and know more about you, to see, if we're the right fit for you. Every team leader, every brokerage owner that you're going to talk to, they're all going to tell you that they're the best. Oh, they got the best training, they got the best systems, they got the best support, they're all the best. Well, look, I've just discovered and found there is no such thing as the best. It's about you identifying who the best is for you. And look, I may be the best fit for you. I may not be the best fit for you, but until I learn more about you and what your goals are and what your struggles are and what your current obstacles that you're experiencing are and where you're at and where you want to go, I have no idea if we're the best for you. But what I recommend is that we set up a time to have a conversation where we can break down and go through your business, where you're at, what your goals are, again, what your current obstacles are, and walk through and see if I can even help you. And I'll walk through what we have to offer at that point, and if we're a fit for you, great. And hey, if not, that's okay too. I don't want anybody here within my organization that doesn't want to be here. So my promise to you is you're never going to be recruited. You're never going to be hard sold. You're never going to be pushed, pressured, sold, any of that stuff. Nobody here works here inside my organization chooses to be here. Nobody's handcuffed. So I'm just going to walk you through, what is that we offer, what we do. And the more I get to know about you, your business, again, your struggles, your obstacles, your goals, the more I can let you know of, what solutions we might have for you. And I can provide those to you so you have all the information that you need to make your best decision. And again, that decision might be for you that we are the best fit for you, and then you may decide that we aren't the best fit for you. And either way is okay. Look, we can still be friends. So I'm always disarming them, right? Making them feel comfortable. Okay, so then in that recruiting presentation, we want to know, again, why they got into the real estate business. I'm just reading my list here if you see my eyes look off camera. So why they got into the real estate business, where they're currently at, that's going to be, the pain. And you want to really tap into that, where they're currently at, not just from a production level, but because they're obviously looking for a change for some reasons or experiencing change, are experiencing pain. I want to know, and I want them to get living in that pain. Okay, well, what does that mean for you and your family? How's your current production impacting you and your family, right? So where they're currently at, where they want to be, and not just that 12-month, but that long-term too, that's the pleasure. Identify their biggest current problems and obstacles, because so often we will jump in. Somebody comes to me and says, my biggest obstacle is lead gen. Right now, I know that the vast majority, it's not a lead gen issue. Typically, it's deeper level problems than that. It's an inability to convert those leads into appointments and lacking the skill set to convert at a high level. And usually that's a lot of times what people think is their biggest pain is not their biggest pain. But you sell people what they need, or you sell people what they want, and then you give them what they truly need. Yeah, right. So, I'm going to speak to that. Okay. If they think their biggest problem is lead gen, okay, well, okay. I understand that. And that's a problem for a lot of real estate agents out there. So can you unpack that a little bit for me though? What are you currently doing for your lead gen? Now let's go a little bit deeper in this. What are you currently doing? What's working for you? I mean, I know that you're not where you want to be, but you're popping some deals. How are you getting those deals? Okay. Walk me through that. Tell me more about that. Right. So I'm identifying and going deeper through this. And then I want to get them to uncover other new problems. So it's not me telling them what these new problems are. I'm getting them to identify and uncover what these new problems are. So, by the end of this, they thought they had one obstacle and problem, but then now they're like, oh shit, it's pretty obvious to them that maybe they have 3 or 4 big problems. Right? Because then I start asking questions of, okay, what are you consistently doing to generate the leads that you have right now? Okay, well, I'm taking these actions, and okay, well, then what are you doing? Okay, once those leads are coming in, where are you, do you have a CRM that you're putting those leads into, or how are you following up with them? Okay, well, then what is your follow-up protocol? Through lead to them becoming a client, what is your ongoing follow-up protocol? Okay, then, what's your overall conversion rate with that lead? So then as I'm taking them down these actions, I get them to identify, okay, I got a lead gen strategy problem. I got a lead follow-up problem. I got a lack of system problem. I got a lack of tracking problem, right? And now I got them to identify through questions that they have 4 problems they now need my help solving. So it even makes that gap from where they want to go to where they're at to where they want to go even bigger, that pain to that pleasure even bigger. But that's okay because, boom, I got the solution. You and I, we're the ones that have the solutions for them, but we need them to see that, right? So identify the biggest problems. Again, articulate the roadmap. And like I said earlier, the what, not the how. We're selling the results, not the features, not the benefit. So I've got a 90-10 rule with this. So 10% of it is the pitch, 90% is sticking on those results. Okay, so let me just kind of go over some overall sales tips that I have. And these, think it like, dude, agent recruiting is sales, you guys, right? So when I say sales, I'm not just talking about buyers and sellers, but these are going to apply to agent recruits. Also tips that will apply to your for your agents, for their buyers and sellers. So we talked about this one earlier, but understand what the consumer wants. Like we talked about this a moment ago, but I'll repeat it because it's so damn important. All right, the consumer today wants the information that they want to make their best informed decision, but they want to do that in a safe, non-pushy, non-pressured, non-salesy environment. So, okay, we got to give them what they want. Now here, look, dude, I'm not saying to not sell them, to not close them. I'm going to close them. I'm going to sell them at a high level, but we need to make them feel that they're not being sold, right? And I'm not going to, force somebody to join, because if I got to sell somebody on why they should join my organization, I got to hard sell them. Well, then I'm going to constantly have to hard sell them on why they should stay, right? But when I'm talking about sales is, and it's really selling without selling. With the strategy I'm walking you through today, it's hands down the most effective way and the highest converting way to go out there and sell based on how the information-based consumer is and operates today. So look, because I'll get asked sometimes, like people back to me like, oh, I just like the more, the more upfront kind of old school sales strategies. And I'm like, look, dude, I would do those if they were the most effective way to go out there and sell. 100%. Just being upfront honest with you guys, even though I don't enjoy that the most, personally, which is a good thing because it's the least most effective way to go out there and sell. But if it was the most effective way to go out there and sell today, I would do it, right? But the reason that I don't do it is because it's the least effective way to go out there and sell today. The most effective way to sell today is what I'm walking you through here right now, right? But I get them to come to their own natural conclusion that they need to make a shift, that they need to make a change. And hopefully I've done my job of articulating that I am the change that they need to change to get them from where they're at to where they want to go. So know what the consumer wants and just deliver to them what they want. And then from there, the old school way of selling ABC, or ABC was, always be closing, right? Like to me, I look at that as again, that is the least effective way to go out there and sell. Always be closing, just always push. Don't take no for an answer, all that old school bullshit. Sorry, I'm just getting over some crazy, I don't know what I had, COVID or had something, but some crazy sickness that I'm just starting to get over here. So my voice is a little messy and have some coughing going on. But, I switch that from always be closing to always be comforting, right? Like we always got to remove that resistance to make them feel comfortable, to make them be, be upfront and honest, to make them feel like they're not being sold, right? To keep that process moving forward. Okay, so that's extreme. That's probably one of the most important things that you can understand when it comes to being highly effective at selling and at recruiting. Okay, so then from there, understand timeline and psychology of each different lead source. Okay, so new agent, fresh out, just getting ready to get done with school or just fresh out of school. Okay, they have a different timeline. That timeline is going to be much quicker. They have a different psychology, meaning what's going on in their mind, than maybe a high producing, like if I'm going after, let's just say a team leader that's doing 30 million and I want to recruit them and show them that I'm the best person to get them to their goal, making 100 million, okay, well, that's going to be a longer timeline sales cycle. And obviously what's going on in their mind is different than a brand new or a struggling agent. Right? So timeline allows us to identify how long we need to follow up and how frequent we need to follow up with that person to go out there and maximize conversions. Then from there, psychology lets us know, okay, what our message must be with those follow-ups and those reach outs during those conversations that we have within that given timeline. So really important to know and understand. Then from there, this one I've already talked about before, but sales is solving problems. In order to solve problems, you got to be really good at identifying what those problems are. But in order to identify the problems, people have got to be willing to be upfront and honest with you and vulnerable with you. And this is why I say ABC, always be closing. Now it's always be comforting. Because look, dude, we got to get them to open up, right? And we got to get them to tap into that kind of emotional state of their brain. So when people feel like they're being pushed, pressured, or sold, they go into fight or flight mode. They go into the oldest portion of the brain, the croc portion of the brain. They go into fight or flight mode. They shut down. Right? They're not going to listen to you. Rapport's been broken, and they're not going to be vulnerable, upfront, and honest because they're going into protection mode. So we want to keep them. This is why this is so effective. Is we need to keep them moving forward, keep them feeling comfortable. Keep them. So if you look at as I'm asking those questions and the way that I'm asking them, right? Like tonality is important. Coming from the right place. There's certain times you got to show the right empathy. Certain times you got to show the right curiosity. Certain like making sure that you are nailing this stuff. It becomes really, really important. And that leads me into what I call pre-framing. So pre-framing is how we set up each question that we go to ask. So then that way we can get them to be upfront and honest with us. So, as an example, I had an agent, a recruit that I was doing, just the other day. And, they're like, hey, I want to think about it. And I was like, hey, not a problem. It's a big decision. I understand that why you want to think about it. So that's not a problem at all. Let's do this, just so we can be on the same page here, and make it easy as possible for us, for me to, check back in with you and answer any questions that you have and whatnot. What is your timeline for wanting to think about it, for then, the timeline of wanting to get back to me? I think you might be getting back to me, just so I have an idea, so I can be prepared, to answer any questions that you have. Probably within the next week. Okay, well, I know that time kills deals. I don't want to wait this for a week. So then again, no problem at all. And I'm not sure with my busy schedule if I'll be just randomly available over this next week. So let's do this. Can we set up a call here on this Tuesday? And I got my calendar in front of me. If you can pull up your calendar just in case this is helpful for you. And we can just set up a time right now. So then that way we can further discuss, any questions that maybe you were thinking about, any other questions that you have, and we can just see where you want to go from there at that time. So I'm just going to set a time right then and there. Then from there, I'm going to ask them, hey, just out of curiosity, so I'm prepared for our next call. What is currently going on in your mind right now that's causing you to want to, go out there and think about? Like what's going on right now in your mind? Just so I'm prepared for a call. Right? So just keeping that casual conversation going. But because, I was like, oh, hey, not a problem. You want to think about it? That's not a problem at all. Let's just get something on the calendar, so then that way I can follow up with you. So it gives you that time to think about it, right? Like that's disarming them where they're not feeling pushed, they're not feeling sold. But then when I ask them that follow-up question, what's going on, just out of curiosity, so I can be prepared for our next meeting, what's going on in your mind right now? Right. Well, then boom, I can get them to open up of what that obstacle is. So, because if they want to think about it, that means there's concerns that they are having. I want to know and understand what those concerns are, so then that way, okay, I might be able to knock those out right then and there and get that moving forward right then and there. But then there might be times where they're like, I can't handle those, objections, quote unquote, concerns, right then and there. But at least I'm prepared for our next call on what those would be and how I can best address those at that time. So just those tiny little, tips and strategies that just continue this moving forward. So always be, and whatever it may be. The other day too, I had the quote unquote sales call, for my coaching program, and there was some hesitancy there. And I just pre-framed it in that, hey, before I ask this next question, as you know, I've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy. So I'm not asking this question to try to hard sell you or try to get you to whip out your credit card or try to push you to do anything that you're uncomfortable with doing. Just truly out of curiosity. What's creating the hesitation right now? That's causing you to want to think about it. And I just paused. Yeah, right. Well, then from there, they came open, upfront, honest with me about what those obstacles were so I could address those and we were able to get her to move forward with the coaching program, right? With that. And that wasn't me trying to push her or sell her. It was just, okay, like if they're, because like sometimes they might have valid concerns that it doesn't make sense for them or whatever, and that's okay. But in this situation, it was other concerns that they had with other coaching programs that they went before. So it's creating some doubt. Because one thing that's really important for you guys to understand, and this is, because whether you're recruiting, like for me, when I'm recruiting to my coaching program versus recruiting to my team or the broker, it's all the same process, right? But something that's really important to understand is it's not just selling to what we have to offer. A lot of times it's de-selling on all the bad experiences that they had that didn't work out for them before, so it's not just about selling your stuff. It's about also deselling all those other, bad experiences that they had. So then you can show, okay, why you won't fail them and let them down like maybe those other experiences did for them. So that becomes really important. All right. So these are the recruiting tips that I have for you guys here on this podcast. I hope that this is helpful. And look, if you are wanting to get additional help, additional support in dialing in your real estate business, your team, your brokerage, get to that next level. If you're sick and tired of, being, where you're currently at and looking to go get to where you want to truly be and building the real estate business of your dreams, and you're looking for that right support and help with that, make sure that you check out my coaching program. Go to gsdmode.com. There's a coaching tab on there. And here's what I recommend that you do is you can schedule 100% zero pressure Zoom discovery call with me personally. Well, we're going to jump on, talk about your business, where your biggest obstacles are, walk you through, my recommendations to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. And yeah, we're going to spend about 10 minutes of that call walking through what my coaching program is and how every single day I help team leaders and broker owners just like yourself go out there and grow and scale and make sure that they're crushing their real estate goals and how, I can possibly get you and help you get dialed inside your business. But when I say no pressure, I've got a very strict absolute no pressure policy. So with that, I'll walk you through what it is, what I have to offer. If it's for you, great. If not, that's okay too. I'm still going to make sure that this Zoom call together is extremely powerful for you. So I highly recommend that you go book that, schedule that. If you aren't hitting the goals that you're capable and possible of, if your production's down here, but your potential, is way up here. Again, gsdmode.com, the top banner when you go on, there's an area to click and to schedule the 100% zero pressure discovery call with me, Zoom discovery call with me, or you can go to gsdmode.com, click on the coaching tab and do that as well. All right, guys, I hope that this has been helpful. Keep crushing it, keep kicking ass, and I will see you next time. Peace.